everybody. Welcome to Dime Más, More Insight, Less Noise podcast. My name is Kathleen Perales, and I'm here with my co-host, Monica Margaillan. How you doing today?
I love that you actually are saying my last name correctly.
I'm really trying to work on the R's, because,
You're
I
doing
can't do
really
that well.
well.
I even said my last name well, right?
You did.
Right. Otherwise, it's normally Perales, not Perales.
Mm-hmm.
We are so excited to be here today. This is our first inaugural episode. Did I say that word right? Inaugural?
I think
Am I
you did.
using
Yep.
it correctly in
Yep.
a sentence?
Mhm.
And so excited to be co-hosting with you. I've known you for a really long time.
Yeah,
And
we have.
super excited that we're doing something fun and new together. How are you feeling today?
I feel excited. I feel I can't wait to hear from our host, not our host,
Our guest?
All right, thank you, Kathleen.
I'm here to help. Always
You're
here.
always here to help, so
Always
I
here.
appreciate you. Yeah. No, I'm excited.
So the podcast, when Monica and I got together and we started talking about what would a podcast look like for us, I think we settled on the fact that we were just curious about so many things. Would you agree, right?
Yep. I mean, there's no such age as far as you should always be curious, right? That's something that's part of life, I think. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I am a self-proclaimed lazy researcher. I mean, you know that about me.
I do.
If I have to Google something and I can't get straight to the source, I shut down. I want to go directly to the source.
Well, and there's a lot of information out there now,
There
and
is.
it's hard to know which is the truth and which isn't.
Right. And I don't like to read a lot. When they say your podcast should be so long, I always think maybe cut it in half for me. Because if I'm your baseline audience, I'm probably not going to pay attention for too long.
True.
But I do love the fact that we've had so much experience, both in our professional careers and out in the community, that when we started thinking about it, we know a lot of really cool people
We do.
doing some amazing things
That's
and
true.
helping the community, right?
Yep.
And so why not create some space where we can let our curiosity take over and drive the interest in the topics, but then bring in the experts who can help answer some questions and give us some guidance with whatever it is that we're talking about.
Yep.
So that really is the purpose of Dime Más. More insight so that you can learn a lot, gain new information, and then hopefully less noise so we can declutter what's already out there. So this is cool.
Yep.
Well, I'm excited. So who do we have today? Who is our first inaugural guest
I
on
know.
today's show?
I
Are
know.
we ready?
I'm very excited to introduce you to our first guest. It is Raquel, a.k.a. Rock. and CEO of the Black Girl, Brown Girl Collective.
Nice.
So we're very excited to have you, Raquel.
I'm
Thank you
excited
so
to be here.
much.
Thank you all for letting me be the first guest. I appreciate it.
Out of curiosity, why rock?
So that's actually my childhood name. My mom's called me that since I was a baby. My name is Raquel, but just kind of out of the womb, I was always Rock. And it's a community name at this point, just because community is family. So they are totally welcome to call me Rock, and that's kind of just what's stuck in the community. So yeah, Rock it is.
Oh, that's good to
Nice.
know.
I love it.
that.
I love that, Rock.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So tell us your story. Tell us about yourself. What has led you to the woman you are today to rock?
Such a big question. I was definitely thinking about that and kind of thinking about the things that kind of shaped who I am growing up and who I am now. So I thought the big thing really is my bicultural background. That's something I've learned to notice that really shapes who I am in my lived experience. So my mother is a Black woman, and my father is Chicano. And so I've always kind of grown up in two spaces. And then the feeling of not always feeling like I belong in spaces, right? Not Black enough, not Latina enough, or Chicana enough, if you will. And so that's shaped who I am. And it always kind of made sure that whatever I was doing, whether that was friendships or partnerships or business relationships or, my workplace, I needed a space where I had belonging. Or if I didn't have it, I needed to create it. And so I think that's greatly shaped who I am as a person. And I seek out places where I feel like I belong. And if I don't feel like I belong, I'll make them or I leave. And I think the other big thing, too, is I'm a mother. So that shapes who I am. I was a young mother. I had my child very young and really had to make sure that everything I was doing was responsible and with him in mind. And then later my younger son. And so I think that shapes the care that I take with community with myself, with, again, friendships and partnerships and relationships, and that kind of nurturing and love that I put into things. And I think the other big thing I would say is I was surrounded by so many amazing women growing up. And again, in every aspect of my life, women have been a huge, just instrumental in my being, you know, and I was always surrounded by very strong women. Women don't always have to be strong, but I was always surrounded by very strong and powerful women who know how to speak their minds and said what they wanted to say, and they meant it. And I really appreciated and loved that. And it just was like, oh, I'm that person. I'm going to be that person and make sure that I have a voice. So that really is like who I am. Just a mother, a bicultural woman, right? Having that lived experience as a Black and Chicana woman. And then just, I'm a woman, and I love being surrounded by them, for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's one of the things that I admire about you, you know, your courage and your willingness to not allow the norm be the norm.
Thank you.
You know?
Yeah, we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
We really don't. I think in the end, we also have the ability to change, you know, again, change the things that you're just not seeing or not made for you. If you have the opportunity to change it, I encourage it.
Yeah.
I love that you found that early in your life. And I remember, I mean, I've known you in a prior career.
Right.
And getting to know you, I always thought that, and maybe you weren't 100% assured of yourself, but I always felt like you sort of knew what you needed early on, even in your younger years. And it's funny because as I get older, I find myself more in that space of claiming my sense of belonging and creating that sense of belonging that I wish I would have had the confidence to do when I was a little bit younger. I mean, I don't think they were necessarily wasted years, but I joke that it's, you know, when you get into your 50s, you stop caring. You're like, don't care anymore. I'm 50 plus and y'all can just go do your thing because I'm going to go do mine. But always envious of women, younger women in particular, who already had developed that, you know. And to your point, you know, being a mom, right, I have 2 girls and trying to install that sense of energy for them so that they can create that space for them instead of always having to rely on others to create it for them. 100%. And then when creating it, hopefully bringing people in. Right. So that's just a wonderful trait that you've always had.
I appreciate that.
So I have a question before we move to the next question, but you mentioned that you were surrounded by strong women. Give me an example.
Oh, my mother. That's easy. My mother is, she is, I was like, she's still with us. Amen. Thank goodness. She was, growing up, she was really tough. I was her only baby at the time. I have a little brother, but the only baby at the time. So she was very protective. She wanted to make sure, you know, I was on my thing. She talked to me about how I move through the world, how I speak, my education. You know, we had really good conversations of like what womanhood can look like and how you present, right? And even like on a spiritual level, my mom was educating all the time. And then she walked it. You know what I mean? It was great to see. I could see her. She didn't even have to explain things. And that's the best way. I was like, I want to see you say the things that you want me to be. Show me. And she showed me all the time. So she held down our household. She was kind. She was caring. She maintained her friendships really well. She was a great mother. She always checked in, and she has a great sense of humor. Just amazing human being, everything that I want to be. And the strength showed in, like, she didn't tell me anytime we had hard times, if we had hard times, I had no clue. Yeah. She, you know, she just kind of carried everything with such grace. And and I don't want to, I don't want us to hide like trauma or hide, you know, instances where we're in struggle. But what I'm trying to say is she carried herself so well. I felt safe and secure in everything. Having a conversation with her, being at home in our spaces, and just watching her move through the world, like, she's everything.
Well, as 2 women that have lost their mothers, and I know Kathleen, we are high.
We're going to start crying in about 10
minutes. And I don't want to.
I don't want to, but
yeah, I mean, our mothers were our heroes. And I totally understand where you're coming from. So how lucky you are that you still have her.
I value it. Yeah. I definitely value it.
Yeah.
So in addition to how you've described yourself, would you also add in, would you consider yourself a creative, an artist, an advocate? I feel like There's so many things that you do and you're involved with. Do any of those definitions resonate with you? Or if they do, like, how would you define it for yourself?
You know, that should have been a part of who made me who. I totally skipped over that.
You got a lot going on.
Yeah,
girl, so
I was like, there's a lot in my brain.
No.
Yes, I'm an artist, first and foremost. Like, that's a big thing. I learned I was good at poetry when I was like 10 years old. I wrote a poem about birds. And my mom was like, wow, that's really good, Rock.
Do you remember that poem?
I don't remember the poem.
Darn, I was going to have you recite it.
I wish I did. But I knew it slapped. Like, it was so good. And my mom was like, it's really good. And I just needed to hear that. And I was like, okay, I got this. And then from there on out, I use poetry. It's just a way to just process emotions. Mm-hmm. And I write my best poetry when I'm really mad. Or like, you know, just feeling a lot, just the big emotions. It lets me process. But that's the art form that I really take to. Is poetry, but I'm a lover of all arts, you know, literary, performing, visual. I love it all, and I've always been an advocate for the arts, and especially for women in the arts. I love to see that, and we need more of that, more representation and visibility. But definitely an artist is something that is core to who I am, with a huge love for poetry.
I remember you introducing spoken word poetry to our former place of employment where we all met, and that was so cool.
But teaching the students how to do it. Yeah.
Do you remember, Monica?
Young students.
I think I told you at one point I wanted to be a spoken word artist, and I was going to come up with my own poem. I might have even tried.
I feel like you did on one when we did a session.
It's so cool. It's like the coolest art form to me.
No, I agree, because then you're able to express yourself in a different format, right? And able to share what you're feeling in that moment. And like you mentioned, when you're upset is when you do your best work, right?
So it's interesting. Yeah. So you've got a lot going on. We're super excited to learn more about the Black Girl, Brown Girl Collective. I love that it's focused on empowering the community through sense of belonging, using the arts as a vehicle for that. And the fact that all community members are welcome. It's not a particular age group. I've seen your programming that includes children up through adults, as well as some of the other community work that you've been doing. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break and give everyone a moment to have a sip of water. And we'll get back with our special guest today, who is Rock, the CEO and founder of Black Girl, Brown Girl Collective. And we'll be back in a few moments. Thanks.
This segment brought to you by Gutierrez Law Firm.
Hola, mi gente. I'm attorney Francisco Gutierrez and a proud sponsor of Arizona Vadio Stories. I grew up in the Anat Vadio, and I've been practicing law now since 1984. Experience really does matter. If you've been injured by someone, call me. Let's talk.
Welcome back. We're here again with Rock. And we want to dive into a little bit about her organization. So, Miss Rock, what made you decide to create this collective?
So the Black Girl, Brown Girl Collective was made from a couple of different things. The belonging piece that we talked about, just not finding a space to feel like there's, you know, I don't have to be this, I don't have to be that. I can just kind of come as I am, and the community do the same thing. But also came out of the higher education work that, you know, that we all were involved in. When I left we'll just say that organization, I was seeking and needing and yearning for that connection that we created with, it was called the Minority Female Initiative at the time. And we had this group, this group of college students. They were all women of color, and we were trying to make sure that they were successful in college. And we created this amazing relationship and kind of sisterhood. And once I got a feel for that, like that's all I wanted, right? Just all I craved, just the connection and just the sisterhood. And when I left, it was missing. And then COVID hit. And you know how, right, COVID impacted everyone in different ways. Yeah. And I was driving one time and I had an epiphany. I was like, I need to put that in the community. I need that feeling back in the community. I think the community needs this to heal as well in its own way. And so I called the girls who were a part of that organization. I asked them, hey, do y'all want to put this open mic, which was part of that initiative, into the community on the South Side? It was called Her Voice. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And what came of that was like electric. People showed up. people showed up really well. There were so many people, and women were able to just share their voice, their stories without judgment, just be there in the community, listened and carried them and held them. And I felt like electric for days after, and I was like, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And so the girls and I agreed, like, let's continue this work. And at that time, we had artists at that open mic, and they were kind of neglected. They were kind of out of the way. We had visual artists. And then we're like, we need to make sure that they're visible as well. So we created a separate event called Queen's Rise.
Nice.
That highlighted those visual artists, and her voice kept the performing artists, like that was their platform to be able to share. And so to answer your question, it was definitely from that need of community and belonging and sisterhood. It was born out of looking for more artists in the community, and especially women of color. Anytime I went to an event, I didn't see any women of color, barely women, and then women of color, zero. And I was like, where are we? Because we create, we're around, where are the spaces? And these are huge events. We are not here. Why is that? And so needing to create a space where it's like, no, this is we're front and center. We're leading these programs. We're creating these programs. We have a say in what this is. And it is Black and brown women that are the focus. Everyone's always welcome in this space, but like, this is a space for us. So it came out of that. It came out of the love for the South Side. South Phoenix has been, I'm from Arizona, originally from Arizona, and I've kind of grew up everywhere, but South Phoenix is home. It's the only place where I've actually felt like I've belonged. And I go to the grocery store and I'm like, oh, there's people who look like me, and I feel safe, I feel secure. And there's just such a rich community there, and there's history there. And I feel like you can feel that history as you go through the community, and I just love it. And so I knew that like whatever we do in the community, it needs to be brought back here, and it needs to stay on the South Side. So that's another kind of big reason why we continue our work there. And I will say, just the visibility point for Black and brown women, just the arts too. Arts aren't typically accessible. And so we wanted to create a little bit more of accessibility for women in the arts. And so it's just kind of expanded as community needs have expanded as well, or our community's been asking for things. So like classes. So we had we started with the open mic. That was our inaugural event, the Her Voice. Then we created the Queen's Rise. For the visual artist. And then we're like, well, what about educational classes? They're really expensive. Where do we get them? Who's teaching them, right? So I go and I try to take a pottery wheel class. Well, who's teaching the pottery wheel class? And why is it $65 for me to throw some clay on a wheel when I know it's expensive?
Materials and
right,
all that,
right. It's expensive, but like, does it have to be? And so we're like, we really need to see what we can do to help. And so we created Her Arts and Crafts classes. They're free. Awesome. They're taught by community members. We've actually asked the community, hey, what do y'all want to learn? And then we go ask the community, who do you want to teach this? And then we put it on, and it's free. And it's first come, first serve. It is for women, but everyone's, welcome at our events. But we plan for them. And then
I really think that's one of the most beautiful things that you do. You mentioned the comment about, you said, arts are not accessible. They really aren't. One of the, I think I might have shared with you, I have both daughters are in performing arts, and my oldest, her goal is to become a performing arts administrator to make arts accessible to the community. And as I reflected back over the years, her whole experience has always been pay to play.
Yep.
And so if she didn't come from a background with a family that could,
she would have not had that opportunity.
Pay for the theater camps,
the costumes,
right? Pay for the costumes, pay for, the registration fee to be able to be in a performance, pay for the scripts. There's so much money that gets expended,
right?
That it was really, it was amazing to me that she herself recognized that and wants to create spaces where they are accessible. And that's another area where I think, honestly, it's only just been the last few years where voices in theater have started to move towards representing Black girl, brown girl artists. I thank Alicia Keys, honestly, for Hell's Kitchen for that. Her show was amazing. But it's the fact that you've again recognizing that and creating that sense of belonging and removing all of those barriers is it's one of the coolest things about your center. I love that.
Center is going to be a goal of ours.
Center is a goal.
We actually we're renting a venue. Like our venue is a house, so we program out of a house at this point. Very gritty, and we do all of our classes there, and we rent it out to put money back into our mission.
How
But
do
a
you
center is a goal.
promote all of those events? How do you?
Yeah, so we have an email distribution list, and then we're social medias, Instagram, Facebook. Instagram is kind of where we're most active, and then word of mouth. Like we're again just word of mouth. Hey, we have this going on.
What's the average of participation that you get in every single event?
So Queens Rise, we attract about 200 to 300 folks.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, that one's our one of our larger events. The Her Arts and Crafts Festival, which is a free festival. We partner with the Kroc Center on the South Side, and we do 12 free arts and crafts classes for the community. And then we highlight women businesses, so over 25 local women businesses. And then they also have they have an Easter celebration and then they do egg hunts and everything. That one attracts about 1,000 folks.
Wow.
That one's a really big event. Thank you, Kroc, for partnering with us on that. Her Voice is about 100, 150 sometimes. That's the open mic. It's more intimate. And then our Her Arts and Crafts classes are about 25 to 20 people. That one typically sells out, which is really sells out, but it's free. Attracts that many people.
That's
so
like over 5,000 community members that
Yeah,
are engaging with you.
we try.
That's fantastic.
We try to engage the community as much as we can, and we have other projects as well. But those are the ones that are pretty major for us.
And you brought in an individual to educate artists on how to financially navigate their work and their worth and their value. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes, that's a new program. It's called Business of Art. And so the whole goal is the community. We do surveys. Surveys are really important for us. We want to make sure that we're programming with the community in mind and making sure that their needs are. And then again, having the community teach those classes. So we were getting a lot of requests on education, for artists. Like, I don't know how to grant write, and I was like, me neither. How do I market myself? How do I understand intellectual property? How do I make a mural? All these things. And so we created what's called the Business of Art program. This is the first time we did offer a paid session. And that's something we have to talk about too, because though, yes, accessibility is extremely important and we were going to maintain that and be committed to it, the position we're in financially, we're going to have to figure out, there has to be some sustainability and there's costs associated with that. So Business of Art is a paid program, but it's affordable. So for instance, we offered the intellectual property with a lawyer. You could ask the lawyer questions. She was absolutely amazing. And it was $40. And then there's an online, $40 in person, $35 online. So there's in-person online options. And we hope to offer more. We had a grant writing session. We had a mural workshop. We had a marketing one, which was really, really good. So we're just trying to make sure that the artists have education and then they're taught by women in the community as well.
That's really, really awesome.
So you're a nonprofit organization.
We are.
How long have you been in existence? And what have
how you've been sustaining?
Yeah, how have you been sustaining? You talked a lot about the wonderful work that you're doing, but are there some challenges that come with that as well?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, there are challenges.
Yes. So we technically were first established in 2021, so just straight out of the pandemic. And then we got our 501c3 tax exemption status, which means, y'all can donate and we get a little, it's tax exempt. So 5 years, right? We're moving to our 6th year of programming coming up. But yes, this has been, sustainability is what I wish I would have known as a, like a baby organization is we should have been thinking about sustainability right at the jump. And 2021, it was a good time for grants, right? Like money was flowing pretty well. Yeah. And now that we're in 2026 and we didn't really have that foresight, unfortunately, it's been tricky, with the political climate, the divestment from DEI, whatever, we won't get into that, but that has dramatically impacted, giving priorities and grant opportunities for us. And so we're struggling right now, to be completely honest. We didn't know if we were going to make it this year financially. And so it's been challenging, I think, as a founder too, because, right, we're trying to, I know the work and we know the work is so important. And the need is there.
The audience is there.
Right. The people are there.
Yeah.
but the investment in the organization hasn't followed suit just yet. So that's been hard. It's been a hard pill to swallow, and I wish we would have set ourselves up a little bit better. And I say that for future organizations to think about sustainability. You can still be accessible and sustainable at the same time. There needs to just be a good flow of that, because we never want to make sure that folks don't have access to our needs, you know? But it's been hard to figure out. So what we're doing now to try to remedy that is we're doing some paid options. We're pushing our venue a little bit more. We're looking at artist partnerships, you know, for an exchange.
I would hope that donors.
Yeah, donors. You know, and that's the other thing too, is like we don't know those donors, right? We're an organization.
How do you network?
How do you find the people with the money who's willing to put it right? I don't know those people.
Right.
I didn't grow up around those people, so that's a conversation within itself. And then you know, maintaining a relation. I didn't have the knowledge to be like, okay, they gave us money. We need to continue to build on. Otherwise, I just, you know, I said, thank you so much. But that should have been a continued conversation. Just the education around that wasn't there.
Yeah.
So the good news is past mistakes, right?
Yes.
Don't obligate us to future ones.
Right.
So moving forward, what I'm hearing you say is you have an amazing organization who's meeting the broad needs of the community.
Doing wonderful things.
Wonderful areas of support. We didn't even talk about some of your community work, like your literacy project. But at the same time is how do we connect you with other individuals so that we can have those big conversations, whether it's around sponsorships, whether it's around investment, other tricks of the trade, for lack of better words. You're on the cusp, right? I think I understood that most nonprofits don't last 5 years, and you're going into your 6th year.
Yeah.
So we want to do what we can, whether it's through this podcast, through the people you've met today, to create opportunities to introduce rock and the Black Girl, Brown Girl Collective to individuals who might be interested in helping to boost this. So how can people get in touch with you, Rock? How can the person watching this who's ready to write a check, because I know you're out there, I see you.
Well, and not just the check, also to volunteer.
Or to volunteer.
To volunteer.
Yeah.
Well, Monica's going to volunteer,
Yes,
but we want to
I
get her
will
a
volunteer.
sponsor, an investor.
Maybe getting extra shirts like this.
Okay,
one.
but I'm trying to get
just
her out of the
thinking.
house and into a building.
I understand that.
Okay, Rock, how do they get in touch with you?
Yes, so there are volunteer options. They can go email us, just bgbgcollective@gmail.com to do a volunteer. Visit our website. It is, if you just type in Google BGBG Collective, we're the first hit. We have a donation link. We're accessible. You can find us on social media. Send us a message then. Social media is BGBG Collective. And just reach out when we appreciate it. And yes, to your point too, financial, it doesn't have to just be financial. If you're willing to volunteer, if you have a service you can offer, we'll take it. Any in-kind donations, we're greatly appreciative. And thank you for supporting the work.
You bet. All right. Well, our first podcast is
Yay.
ended. We want to thank everybody for joining us. We also want to thank Latino USA Media. I can't believe I got that wrong. For being our sponsor. And Rock, you've been amazing. We look forward to all the wonderful things you have coming up today and in the future. And we hope that you all will join us next time on Dime Más, More Insight, Less Noise.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much,
Thank
Rock.
you.
It was awesome.
Thank you.